The stage is now set to become the closest finish in Grand Tour history. The last was the famous 8-second Le Mans-Fignon battle in '89. A 28-kilometre time trial will decide all. At stake too is the stage win, and Team Slipstream Chipotle David Miller has eyes on this. Next, the Giro concludes on Versus. Yes, the moment is now the big conclusion of one of the most exciting Giro d'Italias in years. I'm Phil Liggett. Welcome to Cyclism Sundays, presented by Hampton Hotels. Alongside me for the big showdown is Paul Sherwen. Paul, 4 seconds the gap.
4 seconds the gap going into the final day's individual time trial. But what a fantastic final week of racing it's been, with 2 massive mountain stages. And I tell you what, the race was up and down all of the way through that last week.
Well, I have to say, we always predicted that the 91st edition of the Giro d'Italia would be exciting. There were so many contenders. None of them have let us down. And one of the champions has been, in fact, Emanuel Sella, who's conquered the Dolomites almost on his own. Let's have a look back at the week then. We'll begin with the highlights of the big time trial on stage 16, which is taking the riders towards their second rest day. This was the hardest time trial in the history of the Giro. In fact, 1 road up and no road down meant all the motorcycles for the television were carried back down by helicopter. And the man, Paul, who set the trend, trying for 3 stage wins in a row, was Sella.
Emanuel Sella dominated the big mountain stages and put in a very fine performance. When he got to the top of the climb, he wanted the best time, but at 19 kilometers an hour.
And Franco Pellizotti was surprising at 7.6 kilometers. He wasn't far off the race lead. Last to go of the 152 survivors was the pink jersey of Alberto Contador. But Pellizotti at the top of the mountain was delivering the best time, and it would not be beaten this day.
He wanted to prove that he really was a serious contender for the Giro d'Italia, and that was a phenomenal performance by him. As he crossed the line, he knew he'd got the best time. I was impressed by the ride of the aging Gilberto Simoni, because he's not one of the great time trialists on the flat, but in the mountains this is his terrain, and he came across the line for a fine 3rd place at this spot.
And that would move him up into 3rd place overall, but Alberto Contador was conquering this vicious course. On untarred road, he was using an enormously low gear because he said he couldn't get out of the saddle. He got wheel spin. Denny Menchop was arriving at the top. His time a little bit disappointing for the man who will probably be a challenger in the Tour de France.
A lot of riders use this stage to move themselves up in the overall classification. One man was Maurizio Brusegin, a great individual time trialist. His 5th place on the stage moved him well up.
Yes, in fact, a 4th place overall. But disappointment for Danilo De Luca, last year's champion. Only 7th place finish for him. But Ricardo Rico, in the white jersey of best young rider, he was continuing this tour as he started it with stage wins, and he was remaining a challenger. He would finish the day 41 seconds off the pink jersey of Contador. And talking of Contador,
well, it was the most important thing for Contador. He liked the climb, but it really was an exceptionally steep day for him. The day did belong, though, to Franco Pellizotti, who won by just 6 seconds ahead of Emanuel Sella.
Putting on the crown as king of the Plan de Couronnes. This man winning his 1st ever time trial, Franco Pellizotti, and doing what he said he'd always do and remain a challenger in the Giro d'Italia. And so we move on to stage number 17 now, as the riders started to move away from those dreadful mountains just for a moment. As we get out onto the highway, a breakaway of 3 on this 146-kilometre leg. Francesco Cavazzi of Lampre, Michael Ignatieff and Jan Huet.
Frenchman sitting on the back there in the red jersey. These riders built themselves up a massive advantage, but by the time they got to the top of the Passo di Montecenere, their advantage was 2 minutes and 21 seconds over the main field, and this is where Uguay got dropped off the back, leaving 2 men alone at the front.
Well, this was a chance now for one man to try and hold off the field, but the field were in no mood here as they wanted to try and bring this together. There was a sense here that Michael Ignatieff knew the rest were coming back, so he launched a late attack to go for home. As they raced between the mountains, they would soon go up again. Meanwhile, behind there was more fuel coming from the peloton, and who else would provide the gas than Jens Voigt?
Big Jens was always going to look for a stage victory throughout this Giro d'Italia, always on the attack, but on the run down towards the finish line, the whole of the main field decided they'll have Jens Voigt back, and they would have Ignatiev back as well. As you can see the lineup now of the white jerseys for Team High Road.
Team High Road have got control of the front. They kept Bernardi out of it in that Ciclamino jersey. Cavendish looking at him, holding him back, while he allowed his teammate Andre Greipel to win the stage. High Road got 1-2, and that was a terrific piece of sprinting by them both. Greipel got the stage ahead of teammate Mark Cavendish, already a double stage winner in this 3-week tour. A big time bike race, and he enjoys the moments as always afterwards. He's also won, by the way, 2 stages of the Tour de France. So Team CSC again getting a victory with their favourite cyclist. Well, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll be in the mountains of the Alps, the last 2 mountain stages on Friday and Saturday. We'll be back.
Cyclism Sunday's coverage of Giro d'Italia on Versus is presented by Hampton Hotels. At Hampton, we love having you here. And by Captain Morgan Original Spiced Rum. Drink responsibly. Captain's orders.
What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song, and I'll try not to sing out of key. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. Yeah, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends, with a little help from my friends.
At Hampton, we love having you here.
Farmer's Help Point. Sanity makes a comeback.
Switch to Valvoline's Max Life, and there's no telling how long your car will keep going. Max Life not only protects against friction, but also leaks, deposits, and sludge, the 4 major causes of high-mileage engine breakdown. Drive it forever.
Hi, I'm Justin McBride. Turn big bucks into pay dirt with Tractor Supply Company's One for the Money sweepstakes. Log on to versus.com/TSC and choose a rider. If you're selected and your rider makes the 8 on his first ride, you'll take home the jackpot. A cash prize that keeps growing till someone wins. But don't get hung up if your name isn't drawn. Every entry has a chance to win the grand prize, a trip to the PBR World Finals in Vegas.
Oh my!
The One for the Money sweepstakes from Tractor Supply Company and Versus, where the PBR rides Saturday and Sunday nights.
I have written my story upon these pages. I've been a cup, I've been a plate. I have worn smooth the handles of hammers and shovels. I've wrestled with barbed wire. I have never turned the pages of a Swedish furniture catalog. I'm always dirty, but my conscience is always clean.
You're out here for a reason. So are we. Tractor Supply Company. The stuff you need out here.
Cyclism Sundays. It's on, and the legendary Alps await. Who will climb, and who will cave? As the 2008 cycling season winds its way towards the Tour de France, the Dauphiné Libéré begins next Sunday at 5. Brought to you by Hampton Hotels, only on Versus, the home of the Tour de France.
Welcome back to the Giro d'Italia. Before we go to the final day's time trial, we're completing our look back at the highlights here, and we'll move on to Friday's stage now, stage 19. And Paul, the Italians said, especially De Luca and Riccardo, they would attack Alberto Contador, and this was the day they chose.
Well, this was the day that everybody was waiting for. You know, the final two big mountain stages, and the Italians, on their own ground, wanted to try and dethrone the man who was becoming the real dominant member of the Giro d'Italia this year, Alberto Contador. But the race field was dominated by a lot of breakaways.
And a lot of bad weather that has us followed this tour all the way around, which indeed has favoured Alberto Contador in many ways. At the front of the peloton, the riders clad in black, they're all Team Astana, but other riders were clad in black. And here on the left of our picture, Danilo De Luca, last year's winner, put in a huge attack and was gaining big time.
Well, for him, this was a real last-minute move, but in the breakaway, the leading group of 7 riders, this man actually had a serious problem. His chain came off, waited for the team car, and the interesting thing about Kirienka is he was in that leading breakaway of 7 riders.
Yes, and amazingly, he will go on to win the stage as well, but not just yet, as the riders now tried to open the gap over Alberto Contador. Contador was still in control just of Riccardo Rico, but De Luca was looking like he could take the overall lead. As they got up the final mountain, the Monte Poro, which has never been seen in the Giro d'Italia before, it was Kirienko who was going off for the stage win, but the team LPR were trying to get the race lead for Danilo De Luca.
Well, Paolo Salvadelli had done an awful lot of pacemaking for his teammate, but when it came down to making the final decision, Danilo De Luca had to do all of the work himself. In the group behind, the group was shrinking, and of course the man who wore the Maglia Rosa, Alberto Contador, he had no teammates left. He had to take control,
and he couldn't control Riccardo Rico. Remember that Rico was looking for 41 seconds. He opens up a little gap here, and that Sella tried to go and join Rico. Contador was being hit by all quarters now, particularly by the Italian riders. He was under extreme pressure because De Luca had been the leader on the road. He was no longer the leader on the road, but Contador was now in danger of losing his pink jersey to Riccardo Rico.
Well, the amazing thing about being a great champion is you do have to assume control, and he did that while at the front of the race, Kirienka, who had mechanical problems out on the road, got himself a second stage victory for his team, Team Tinkoff.
And earlier in the year, he'd won the World Points Championship as well. Danilo De Luca coming home, and then Riccardo Rico came home. When he hit the line, he had to wait. How many seconds? He needed 41. But when the pink jersey came in at the back, he crossed the line at 37 seconds. Kirienka had won the stage, but Alberto Contador had saved the day. He was still the leader, but by only 4 seconds. And Kirienka celebrating another win for Tinkoff, who prophesied they would probably get a win on the last day in the time trial. Come rather early, that, didn't it?
Just a little bit too early. The next day was the big, massive mountain stage, stage 20, 224 kilometers, but over some of the most famous climbs of this Giro. The Gavia Pass, the high spot, the Cima Coppi at 2,600 meters.
With our former king of the mountains here, Julio Perez, was first over the top, but the field were obviously tired more of the attacking riding they'd done yesterday. Danilo De Luca was in trouble, and so too was the big teammate of Alberto Contador, because Andreas Kloden, suffering from a lung infection, abandoned the race.
Tough for Andreas Kloden because he had been a great ally for Alberto Contador, but a lot of riders would not give up at all. Gilberto Simoni, thinking this may well be his last Giro d'Italia, he decided it was time to go out on the attack, but all eyes were on Riccardo Rico, second in the overall classification at a mere 4 seconds.
Yes, and not surprisingly, Rico was being shadowed here by Alberto Contador, who followed him everywhere. He wanted those 4 seconds for the time trial today.
Over the top of the Mottarolo, this was Antonio Colom for Team Astana leading the race, but behind, at only 36 seconds, there was an awful lot of pressure, but still present and correct there was the Maglia Rosa of Alberto Contador.
Yes, he wasn't quite so anxious as he had been the previous day, but poor old Danilo De Luca there nearly pushed off his bike by a spectator. He was now losing time. Meanwhile, on the slopes towards the finish, an attack by the man who's been totally unstoppable in both the Alps and the Dolomites. Sella was on the way again. And Simoni, who had lost big time and all chance of a win the previous day, had recovered well and was now riding in second place. But look at that, Paul. Arguments between Contador and Riccardo Rico.
Well, there's a lot of friction between those riders. I have to say that only one man needs to be watched by the Maglia Rosa, and that, of course, is Riccardo Rico. Sella went through the final King of the Mountains point of the day a minute and 10 seconds ahead of Gilberto Simoni, but the group behind were only a minute and 36 seconds adrift.
Rico was complaining that the Navigare team of Manuel Sella were actually helping Alberto Contador. I doubt it. Italians never help Spanish in their own national tour, believe me. But Simoni was heading for second place, and this man Sella, who came here to win one stage, had now won 3, and he really was the true King of the Mountains.
I don't think anyone can complain about the way this man has won the King of the Mountains. Second place for Gilberto Simoni. A great ride for a man who we may well never see in the Giro d'Italia again, and the Spanish national champion Joaquim Rodriguez crossed the line in third place, and that meant, Phil, there were no time bonuses left.
No, but the sprints were there because any second will count, even a small gap, and riders falling at the back. Contador finishes right behind Riccardo Rico. But the stage was won by Manuel Sella. Gilberto Simoni back in the frame at 1 minute and 4 seconds. Rodriguez getting third there. Sella, 3 stage wins now. He's had a couple of places as well on the podium too. But the pink jersey now, as we go into the time trial, is on the shoulders of Alberto Contador. He survived a real race in the mountains. And who won the mountains competition? Well, in our green jersey update brought to you by Scott's, there was only one man who's worn the green jersey the whole tour. He took it on stage 2, the first chance to get the points in the King of the Mountains, and he kept it. Emmanuel Sella won 3 stages, all of them in the mountains of the Alps and the Dolomites. There's no other man worthy of the jersey in this year's Giro d'Italia. Well, that's our Scott's green jersey update. Now let's remind ourselves of the overall standings. Alberto Contador in the time trial today is just 4 seconds ahead of Riccardo Rico, 2 minutes ahead of a top time trialist Marzio Bruscagin. Franco Pelazzotti sits 4th, and going further down, Menchov is 6th, De Luca is 7th, Jürgen van den Broek brilliant in 8th. Simoni's in 10th. Of the notable riders, Levi Leipheimer, I think, holds a very respectable 19th place. Could improve today. Van der Velde, day 1 leader, is in 52nd. Watch out, too, for David Miller today. He's 95th overall. And there's Jason McCartney and Danny Pate. Well, when we come back, we'll be with the time trial. It's going to be memories of 1989. The man who wins could well win the Giro d'Italia. We'll see you in just a moment.
Going somewhere?
What are you in for? Wi-Fi?
Break free from Wi-Fi with broadband access from Verizon Wireless. Click to connect and work in more spots than just hotspots on America's most reliable wireless broadband network. Now get a free broadband access modem. Monthly plan starting at $39.99. It's reliability to go. Verizon Wireless.
Get a beautiful lawn that uses less water with Scott's Turf Builder Water Smart formula. It helps your lawn use water more efficiently, so you can save thousands of gallons a year. Scott's Turf Builder. Feed the lawn water smart.
This is Duralast, brakes built to exceed the need.
Built to last, Duralast.
Torture tested to ensure maximum stopping power. Get the brakes built to exceed the need.
Built to last, Duralast.
Only at AutoZone.
I'm the #1 fighter in the world, and I'm ready to prove it.
There's no way this fight's going 5 rounds.
Don't blink.
Home is a place to unwind and to sort out your priorities.
big and small. Home is here, Furniture Row Shopping Center, where the rest you earn can still be put to good use. These are the final days to take advantage of our first-time ever offer of 2.5 years with no payments and no interest. Take advantage of incredible deals as we wind down this outstanding savings event. Hurry into Furniture Row. Our 2.5 years with no payments and no interest savings offer ends Wednesday, June 11th.
Have a banana.
Eating well and playing go together like best friends.
You better believe it.
With the food pyramid, the bare necessities of living healthy are easy.
Bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
So eat right. Be active.
Now move. That's it.
And don't forget to have fun. That's the way to be the best.
You're such a fun balloon.
At anything you do. You can go to mypyramid.gov to play some games and find out more.
Sundays, it's on, and the legendary Alps await. It's the first big test for the Tour de France contenders, and it's the Dauphiné Libéré race. Paul Sherwen and me, Phil Liggett, will be with you and the prologue from Avignon next weekend at 5. Brought to you by Hampton Hotels, only on Versus, the home of the Tour de France. Now here in Milan, the final time trial, the end of the 3-week journey, the end of 3,500 kilometres. Now let me tell you, last Monday, the mountain time trial at 19 kilometres an hour was the slowest stage this race had ever seen for almost 80 years. I think that'll change today, Paul.
It certainly should change, because today I have to say the profile is ideal for the fast men. Men like David Miller, men like Levi Leipheimer. Look at that, 28.5 kilometres. I'd have to say, if you like pancakes, this is what it's all about, because this is as flat as a pancake. And don't forget, the last time there was a time trial finish in Milano, a man by the name of Marco Brusagin was second in that, behind Sergei Gonchar. He may well be looking to turn the tables today.
Well, before we go to the live action, let's just have a look here at the overall situation. Tony Martin of Team High Road has set the best time, 32 minutes 52 seconds. Mikhail Ignatiev, who's very early off today, he's in second place. And Bradley Wiggins, part of the World Madison Championship team, he sits in third place. Another Team High Road in the top 3. And Danny Pate, by the way, is fourth at the moment at 33.09. And now the arrival of David Miller for Slipstream Chipotle, who said that he was hoping to win this stage, and we've had no time checks on him, but the clock says he is not going to do it by a long way, 35 seconds slower than the time of Tony Martin.
Well, that's a big surprise to me, I have to say. David Miller had said that he was eyeing this stage. There's confirmation, 33 minutes and 27 seconds, and that really goes up against 32.52, which is the leader by Tony Martin at the moment.
Well, we've gone back out on the course here now.
Well, this, Phil, actually, as we look down here, this is one of the Team High Road riders. Looking back again earlier on in the day, this is Bradley Wiggins. They are throwing us a few red herrings here this afternoon. At the moment, Bradley Wiggins holds third place in the standings with a time of 32.58 seconds, but we get a chance to see just how flat and how fast this course is. And as you can see at the time check there, Bradley Wiggins recorded 51.8 kilometres an hour. So it's a pretty fast individual time trial here, but I think it's all really more important the men stacked up at the bottom end of the start list, but the men stacked up at the top end of the overall standings. It's going to be a big battle between Contador and Rico, separated by only 4 seconds on the final day.
Bradley Wiggins here has 2 Olympic gold medals from 4 years ago in Athens in Greece, and he's hoping to repeat in the pursuit and team pursuit this time around when he goes to Beijing. He is a born time trialist. Third place for me, Paul, is a little bit of a disappointment against people like Tony Martin and Ignatiev, especially as Martin is Wiggins' teammate. He's holding third at the moment. His finishing time there on the screen at 32.58.
I think there might be a little bit of confusion in the commentary box at the moment, because that, in fact, although it's captioned now as Bradley Wiggins, they've switched across to this, and this, in fact, is Tony Martin, and Tony Martin has the fastest time on the finish line. So, got to keep your wits about you here on the final day in Italy, and maybe one or two of the producers there in the box at the finish line have had a little bit too much Chianti.
Well, we're looking here now at the arrival of Jason McCarthy. This is why we were seeing those flashbacks, because they were waiting for Jason to come in. I don't think it's going to be a world beater, but Jason McCarthy is going to finish a Grand Tour. And the time on the board there, as we go into it, 34.27 for Jason McCarthy, so a little bit slower than David Miller, who started a minute ahead of him. Well, that's the situation in the time trial at the moment, but of course all of the big names are still to come. Alberto Contador will be the last to go of the 142 riders who have seen the finish of this stage. We'll still back out on course, showing you Tony Martin here as he pedalled his way to the best time, still there at 32.52. He's a German rider, but he has a very English-sounding name, to say the least. Ricardo Rico, I wonder what he's thinking right now, Paul. 4 seconds, and he's not a great time trialist.
Well, he has no major references in flat time trials, Phil, and 4 seconds against Alberto Contador, who this year, let's not forget, has improved on his time trialing performances over the performance last year. And I think he will be a lot more relaxed coming into their final time trial compared to the approach of Ricardo Rico. He must have been a little bit more worried going into the final time trial stage of the Tour de France last year, being chased by Cadel Evans and his own teammate Levi Leipheimer.
Let's not forget, too, the third last rider to go today is Matteo Brusagin. By the way, the last 20 men will go with 3 minutes between them. They're only 1 minute at the moment. And Matteo Brusagin, he's got a 2-minute gap to make up, but he's such a good time trialist, I wouldn't write him out just yet.
You can't write him out. He's looking to see whether or not he can overtake Ricardo Rico and move himself up into a second place in the overall classification. I really believe that to pull 2 minutes back on Alberto Contador is too much on a day like this. But I remember saying that in 1989 about a certain battle between Laurent Fignon and Greg LeMond.
Oh my goodness me, yes. Well, this is Laurent Mangel here coming in for, he's a Frenchman on the AG2R team. And Team AG2R have had an up and a down tour, but here he comes home now. He's not going to rock any boat either, but it's not a bad time. 35.20, I think it was, as he crossed the line there. So this is the 49th rider to finish in the field today, so it's a fairly long wait yet before the big boys go off. They'll be warming up. They'll have looked at the course this morning. Last time we had a time trial, as Paul said earlier, when we finished here in Milan, was 5 years ago, and won by Sergei Gonchar, now has left the sport in disgrace. And of course the last Spanish rider to win this race was Miguel Indurain, Paul, and on that occasion he won the last time trial.
He certainly did. That was back in 1992, and he won that time trial, by the way, by 2 minutes and 46 seconds. So that was really a big pacing of everybody else, and he went on to win the Giro that year by 5 minutes and 15 seconds. Just looking a little bit further back down the line here, this is a rider coming in from Case d'Epargne. This is Marlon Perez. He's actually a Colombian rider. We've seen him ride very well, a rider who's got a great pedigree on the track.
And Vanotti right on his wheel, bridged the gap of 1 minute, but 34.19 for Vanotti, so we've got no change in the overall. Tony Martin will disappoint David Miller because Martin is in with the best time. This is the arrival here. I'm just wondering who it is coming in here at the moment for... It's Asen Baziev. The reason I was looking for him, he had been passed many minutes ago by both David Miller and Jason McCartney. So that was a terrible time from Baziev. All right, we'll take a break, and remember all the big names are still warming up around the start line. But the Giro d'Italia will be decided by one of the last 3 men to start today. We'll take our break.
We were friends from high school, and we all had the same tastes and listened to the same records. It started pretty naturally.
Our fans are what keep us doing what we do.
Being on the road, it actually affords us the opportunity to meet a lot of people.
We've got every different type of fan.
When you start a song and the audience starts applauding, that's a good moment. Every choice that we make musically, we're always thinking about them.
Skittles and Starburst are giving you the chance to hang with Maroon 5 and win other prizes. Enter the Summer Fever search party at skittles.com or starburst.com.
La mia bici ed il mio corpo sono una sola cosa. La sua rigidità e la mia forza creano potenza. La sua precisione ed il mio coraggio creano agilità. Insieme siamo velocità. E la velocità è tutto. Io sono il campione del mondo, Paolo Bettini. I am specialized.
Of all the numbers you encounter along your journey to wherever you're going, you'll find there's one number you can always count on for a great night's rest. Super 8, now with free high-speed internet, free breakfast, and more. Super 8, see you along the way.
Tame the road. Hankook Tires.
Attention, all Medicare beneficiaries who need assistance getting around their homes. There is a Medicare benefit that may qualify you for a new power chair or scooter at little to no cost to you. Imagine one scooter or power chair that could improve your mobility and your life. One Medicare benefit that, with private insurance, may entitle you to pay little to nothing to own it. One company that can make it all happen.
Your power chair will be paid in full.
The Scooter Store.
Hi, I'm Dan Weston. We're experts at getting you the scooter or power chair you need. In fact, if we pre-qualify you for Medicare reimbursement and Medicare denies your claim, we'll give you your new power chair or scooter free.
I didn't pay a penny out of pocket for my power chair. With help from the Scooter Store, Medicare and my insurance covered it all.
Call the Scooter Store for free information today.
Call 1-800-749-1204 for free information. That number again is 1-800-749-1204.
Well, welcome back, and just in time, because this is the arrival of Marco Pinotti here of Team High Road, and they are really having a tremendous start to this time trial, the American setup. Remember, the leader is still Tony Martin. Bradley Wiggins is in third place. It looks as though Pinotti is going to top them all.
Well, Pinotti, an Italian national time trial champion. I think the time has been set by his teammates out on the road, because Tony Martin is also a rider from Team High Road, and this is going to be a brand new best time.
He comes up to the line. There it is, 32.45, 7 seconds better than Tony Martin. And just look at his determination here, Paul. He threatened this. He was equal first at the first check, and then he slowly moved clear of the field. There's the situation at the moment in the finish. Well, as we go back down the course now, we pick up Christian van der Velde. It seems an awful long time ago, Paul, when on stage one he won the pink jersey for the team.
Well, it is an awful long time ago. It was 4 Sundays ago that this man led the team around the individual time trial. I should say 4 Saturdays ago. But I tell you what, he is riding superbly well here this afternoon. I think he's done very well to get himself around the Giro d'Italia this year, and he's setting himself up now for what's going to be, I think, a little bit of recuperation period before they line up for the Tour de France in the month of July.
So Christian van der Velde, who was first over the line at the start on the island of Sicily, and thereby in the Slipstream Chipotle team got the leader's pink jersey. This is the scene here at the finish as we wait for the riders to come in. And now sprinting up towards the line here, this looks like the figure of Christian van der Velde. Now he's been checking in at around 8th best time along the road, but can he make it just nudging into the top 6, Paul? Marco Pinotti still the leader at 32.45.
Well, he's tried, you know, Marco Pinotti's a very good individual time trialist. I think he's going to go outside the time of Pinotti, but he's going to be very close to a top 3 place here. There's the time to beat, 32.45. He's outside of that, but he's inside of the finishing straight.
Well, I tell you what, over the last third of this race, he has really turned on the style here, Christian van der Velde, completing a great Giro d'Italia. Pink jersey at the end of day 1, a rough ride on day 2, but here he comes up to the finish now. He's just going to touch his teammate Danny Pate's time here as he heads for the line. He can see the banner. Is he going to push Pate down one? He is. So van der Velde slots into 5th and Pate is down to 6th. Not bad for 2 of a 4-man team finishing the race.
Well, an impressive ride by van der Velde, because he started off in 9th place, moved up to 8th place, and now all of a sudden he's climbed himself right up into the top 5.
So we're looking down at the helicopter now. Van der Velde is in and already gone from the start house now. We're into the last 20 starters now, and Levi Leipheimer, I'm not sure, we're in the hands of course, our host cameras here in Italy from Rai Television. And if they don't go down to the start house, we won't see Levi start. But he should be underway. He'll chase be 3 minutes behind Paolo Bettini. So he won't have gone yet, as we watch down on Bessiccio here. Had his moment this week, Paul. He wore the pink jersey for a day.
Well, a single day, and now climbing into the starting ramp is Levi Leipheimer, and he will be the first rider to start at 3-minute intervals. The last few riders start at 3-minute intervals, and the reason is that because they want to make sure that the big champions here don't catch each other out on the road. I think Levi Leipheimer's got a fairly good chance here this afternoon, but again, I have to stress the fact that for Team Astana, Phil, they came into this race at the very last minute. A lot of them didn't really have the mental build-up that you sometimes require to tackle a 3-week bike race.
Well, let's not forget, I think it's been a terrific performance by Astana, and not least by Levi Leipheimer. Yes, he had a slow start and he couldn't handle the high mountains in that second week, but he has held on to a magnificent 19th place overall. He is a good time trialist. But he'll have to do, even with a great time trial today, Paul, I think he can only climb up one place. He may get the better of Mauricio Alberto Ardilla of Colombia, but not of Joaquin Rodriguez, because he's almost 9 minutes ahead of him on the overall. So there won't be a big gain here, but nonetheless, he's proving himself once again to be a great bike rider. And if he had been lining up for the Tour de France in July, I think he would have had the form right on cue.
And that's the sad thing, because of Levi Leipheimer's age, Phil. What he has to think about is maybe this year would have been his last serious chance at a crack at winning the Tour de France overall. Maybe he'll come out today in that very aerodynamic position of his and try and win himself the final time trial. But to do so, he might have to beat his own teammate, Alberto Contador.
Well, you know, in a time trial like this, remember when you go back to 1989, I think this is about 5 kilometers longer than that dramatic ending to the 89 Tour when Le Mans pipped Laurent Fignon on the last 250 yards of the Tour de France. We may even see that again today, but it will be later. And I have to say, it won't involve Levi Leipheimer, although he could win this time trial.
Well, he certainly could. I think he's got the former coming through the mountains. He was a great ally for his teammate, Alberto Contador. As we go a little bit further up the road here, just to check on this rider, and this looks to me very much as if this is Jose Rullano, and he is a great individual climber, but he's not really one of the strong guys when it comes to riding the individual time trial.
Well, he's had his ups and downs, that's for sure, in all of the big tours. Quick-Step took him, kept him for a while, and left there not on good terms. So Jose Rullano, the Colombia, 32-21 and counting, but I don't think he's going to worry the leader at the moment. It is still Marco Panotti of Team High Road, but I emphasize the big riders are shortly to start. We'll take a break.
Everybody loves a beautiful garden, but not the blisters, bending, and backaches that come with it. Hi, Billy Mays here with the Awesome Auger, the world's most efficient and powerful yard tool you'll ever use. Just attach it to any size drill. Pull the trigger, plant, and grow. It's great for preparing soil for all kinds of planting. Use it to plant trees, shrubs, and bushes. It works like magic for tilling and cultivating the garden. And it's perfect for aerating compost piles. It takes all the work out of digging post holes, removing dead trees, bushes, roots, and stumps. It takes the hard work out of yard work. Made of solid steel, its spiral laser sharp edge gives you the muscle to blast through rock hard clay, cut through the thickest roots, and easily power out rocks and stubborn stumps. Call now and get the Awesome Auger for only $19.95. As a special bonus, we'll also include the Ground Dog to plant bulbs by the dozens with lightning speed, and is perfect for raised flower beds, large potted plants, and window boxes. But call right now and we'll send you the Weed Dog. That removes embarrassing weeds and dandelions. Just reverse and remove. You can also use it to mix paint and concrete in seconds. And it even comes with the Awesome Auger Power Extender to make all your garden and yard work easier. The Weed Dog and the Power Extender are a $30 value, but they're yours free. Just pay shipping and processing. And with every order, we'll also include this powerful drill, a $40 value, but you'll get it free. Just pay shipping and processing. You get it all. The Awesome Auger, the Ground Dog, the Weed Dog, the Power Extender, plus the Power Drill. A whopping $120 value for only $19.95. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-951-1464 to order the Awesome Auger and get the Power Drill and Weed Dog with extender free. Call 1-800-951-1464 now.
Every parent knows the feeling. You look away and your child is gone. Imagine if he or she were actually abducted. Sign up at wirelessamberAlerts.org to get free Amber Alert text messages on your cell phone. If you did help an abducted child get home, just imagine what his parents would be feeling. Wireless Amber Alerts. A child is calling for help.
Look for the bare necessities.
The bare necessities of healthy living are easier than you think.
You better believe it.
All it takes is the right balance of being active and eating well. And the Food Pyramid shows you the way. Just remember, every color, every day.
With just the bare necessities of life.
Crazy. So eat right. Be active.
Now move. That's it.
And have lots of fun. For your own path to a healthier you, visit mypyramid.gov.
Welcome back, and as you rejoin us, it's the time trial champion of Russia coming in now, the Astana's Vladimir Gusev. We all know him affectionately as the Goose Paul, and he's looked as though he's been doing a good time, and he has, but he's not going to win the day.
Well, for a lot of these riders, it's really just getting this final stage of the Giro d'Italia out of the legs. Gusev coming into the finishing straight, challenging the time there of Christian van der Velde, 5th at the moment on the finish line, and I don't think he's going to do that. In fact, he's just gone outside of that. But Gusev has been a great ally, a man who's worked hard over the last few days for Alberto Contador, and he will stop the clock in 9th place, 33 minutes and 16 seconds.
Yes, he just pushes Jens Voigt down a notch. Jens is just in the top 10 now. We expected a little bit more from Jens today. He certainly finished in a flurry, but he was always away from the leaderboard throughout his ride today. But Gusev, who's be 26 years of age, it would have been just the day before the start of the Tour de France, at which he would probably have been part of the Astana team. But that is not to be at the moment. And as we watch here the figure of Jose Rugiano, we are hearing today of the very sad news for the Cardenas family. Felix Cardenas, who is finishing the Tour in at least 15th position overall today. His brother was killed yesterday, apparently changing a car tyre on the side of the road. And his brother Jürgen, in fact, the father of 7 sons. That is a terrible tragedy. So we extend all of our sympathies here from Versus to Felix's family. He will finish the race. He's decided to start the time trial, and then he'll be straight home to Colombia. Apparently his brother's funeral is on Tuesday. That is an absolute tragedy, Paul.
It certainly is. These accidents happen, and very often we forget how dangerous life is just even at the side of the road. And for the Cardenas family, a very sad day. Jose Rugiano, a fellow Colombian, as I said earlier, not a great individual time trialist, but I think, Phil, now that he's moved across to Team Case d'Epargne, we could see him being a very serious part of that team when it goes forward to the Tour de France in July. Let's not forget, a couple of years ago, he was 4th overall in the Giro d'Italia, and he won himself the King of the Mountains.
Well, briefly with Unibet.com last year, that tragic team, and he was the only win he got was his national time trial championship of his country in Colombia, and he's not going to pierce the leaderboard today. Back out on course here now. Got a quick step man down there at the moment.
I'd hazard a guess that's probably Paolo Bettini on the strip of quick step. He's not wearing his World Championship bands because, in fact, he's not the world champion at the individual time trial. He's 20th overall, and I have to say, for Paolo Bettini, although he never quite got himself the big victory he was looking for, he's been very consistent and he's been very aggressive and been a member of a lot of breakaways throughout the race. This is Levi Leipheimer getting down into that very strange but very aerodynamic position. You see he gets his nose right into his hands there, right in front of the handlebars. That allows the front part of his body to cut into the air like a knife, taking himself up to speeds which, to win this afternoon, will approach about 53 or 54 kilometers an hour.
The praying mantis position for Levi. A couple of wins for him this year. He won the time trial stage of the Tour of California, led the race for 4 days, which he finally went on to win overall. And his other places this year, well, he's finished 4th in the Castilla y Leon in Spain and 3rd in his home race, the Tour of Georgia. So back to the start house again.
This is Joaquim Rodriguez, Spanish national champion, but of course not in the individual time trial, in the road race, and he's moving away, and he starts 6 minutes behind Levi Leipheimer.
Number 17 from the end of the riders to go. All of the riders leaving the house now at 3-minute intervals. This is Leipheimer, 1 stage win in the Tour de France. It says 41 victories as a professional, been a professional since 1997, national champion 2007. And there's the disc wheel. Well, it's an awful sad shame that Astana aren't riding the Tour de France, not by their own wish, of course, because I think his form was coming good just there. As we get a little wave here from Vasily Kirienka from Belarus, the man that won that big mountain stage with a tremendous flourish the other day.
A great move by Team Tinkoff. They'd predicted they were going to win another stage in the Giro d'Italia, but I don't think they expected it to be a mountain stage. They were expecting to actually win this stage, the final individual time trial. I think the amazing thing about this guy is, although he rode well throughout the mountains, his pedigree is on the track, and he's actually currently the world points champion from the World Championships this year.
Well, that was in Manchester, and I was there when he won that title, and he certainly does dash around the boards as much as he dashes around the mountains of the Giro d'Italia, I can tell you. Intrinsic Bosiccio continuing to hold his form here, gone through the check there, 3rd best time. And we've gone back here to Levi Leipheimer, who would love for his team to win this Tour with Alberto Contador. And we'll take a break now, but when we come back, we'll also take a look at Danny Pate, the Slipstream Chipotle rider, currently in 6th place in the time trial. See you in a moment.
He was a world champion. He should be a guy who someday is a world champion again in the professional ranks.
What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song, and I'll try not to sing out of key. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. Yeah, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends, with a little help from my friends.
At Hampton, we love having you here.
Jumping 20 buses, it's Danger. Danger Sullivan. It's my first name. Danger. Are you ready?
All right, Danger, we are good to go.
Watch me fly!
Engine sludge can strike anyone, so get Castrol GTX. It's superior sludge protection. 57% better than the leading 5W30. Tests prove it.
Hey, how far to go?
Castrol GTX. It's more than just oil. It's liquid engineering.
Travel now. No passport required for U.S. citizens. Puerto Rico. Explore beyond the shore.
Cyclism Sundays. It's on, and the legendary Alps await. Who will climb, and who will cave? As the 2008 cycling season winds its way towards the Tour de France, the Dauphiné Libéré begins next Sunday at 5. Brought to you by Hampton Hotels, only on Versus, the home of the Tour de France.
Welcome back to the Giro d'Italia on its final stage today as we head into the centre of Milan. Well, one man who's already finished his first Grand Tour today is Danny Pate of Slipstream Chipotle, and he's now the subject of our Hampton Hotels athlete profile.
My name is Danny Pate. I race for Slipstream presented by Chipotle. I came to the team in 2006. Me and Jonathan Botters had been teammates before, and I knew his team was a good opportunity for me. It had all the aspects of the team that I would like.
Danny is a rider that I've taken a very particular interest in. Here's a person who was very grounded morally and absolutely refused to take part in doping. Just basically said, I would rather never make a cent in pro cycling. I would rather never ride a Tour de France than ever have to do that. Danny just pulled up stakes from Europe and went back home to the United States and, said, that's just not for me. And I always thought that was just so, that's just so sad because he was a world champion. He should be a guy who someday is a world champion again in the professional ranks.
Danny's another one of those guys where, he's been with us for a couple of years now. He's really been the team leader to this point. And I think this will be an exciting season to watch him be able to come back to the very top level and show what he really has.
When I started out this project, I convinced Danny to come to the team, and I said to him, listen, I'm gonna make you into a professional rider in Europe that's successful because you deserve that success.
Our team this year, I can't think of a better team for me to race the 08 season on.
Is he ever going to be a Tour de France winner? Well, probably not, but is he going to win some big races and finally reach what his potential is on the world's biggest stage? Yeah, he is.
Paul, first Grand Tour, you remember your first Grand Tour. It's a great feeling, isn't it? You've actually now achieved something quite remarkable.
Well, it's something very special and something you always think about as a professional bike rider, actually finishing a 3-week Grand Tour. The last week is always something very special, very difficult, and when you get to the end of it, it's a real sense of achievement.
Well, as we look down here, Gustaf Larsson, the time trial champion of Sweden, Paul, Danny Pate has finished the Tour, and they're holding high place at the moment in the overall, but since we've come on air, we've also learned of yet another very sad situation in cycling today. It's affecting Christian van der Velde. His grandfather died this morning, apparently, and Christian must have known that, so he will have raced with a very heavy heart today.
Well, I think it will have been a very heavy week, really, Phil, when you think about it. There's Felix Cardenassi has started this final stage. We talked about his family woes just a little bit earlier on, and as we said, condolences going out to a lot of parties here after what has been a tough week, I think, for everybody involved in cycling.
That's right, and our condolences go to the Van der Velde family, because we consider John Van der Velde and Christian great friends as well, and so it really has been a very tragic start to the Giro today. Back to happier times now, though, is Gilberto Simoni in the start house. Had one bad day in the mountains. I really thought he was going to make a top 3 finish in this race and move clearly into the second position as the most podiumed rider of the Giro d'Italia, behind I can't think of his name at the moment.
Behind Alberto Contador?
No,
Rico?
Felici Gimondi, who had been the most podium man with 9 podium finishes in the top 3. This is Bosisio coming up, and he was going well, but he's slipping away a little bit now. And we're still keeping a lot of English names in the top 12 riders overall, including Van der Velde and Danny Pate, as he comes in only 14th place.
Well, a good ride by him. He's held the flag high, I have to say, for his team. Team LPR have been very aggressive. They did everything they could over this last week to try and dethrone Alberto Contador. Danilo De Luca moved up in the standings, and unfortunately yesterday he moved back down again.
Yes, but he has made a great race of this year's Giro, as we watch Antonio Colom coming in here, who was in amongst the action again in the closing days of the hills as well. Andrea Noe has had his less a successful Giro this year, down there in the 80s. He normally has a great Giro d'Italia and does nothing else anywhere else in the world, but not so this year. Age must be catching up, I think. This is Colom coming in. He's looking to break into the top 100 riders. Gilberto Simoni was the 10th from the end to make the start. Chasing him will be one of the revelations of the Dolomites, Domenico Pozzovivo, and then behind him will be the second best in the young rider competition, Jürgen van den Broek.
Well, I think he comes up to the line saluting the crowd, because he can see the Spanish flag over there on the right-hand side. But for him, the last couple of days, Phil, I have to say, have really been as the ultimate teammate for Alberto Contador.
So as we move around the course here, not a hill in sight now. They're all behind the riders after their 3-week tour around Italy, which brought them right up from the island of Sicily down in the far south. Vincenzo Nibali was tipped as a possible winner of this race. Well, it hasn't worked out for him in that respect, but he certainly is coming to a great finish in this race. 12th overall this morning, 18 minutes and 54 seconds behind Alberto Contador, but a good time trial could move him up 1 place into Bagliani's position.
A little mention there for Emanuel Sella and Paolo Bettini, 2 great stars, one a world champion and defending Olympic Games champion. He'll be going forward to Beijing in the month of August to see if he can win the gold medal there for the 2nd time in succession. Nibali, I have to say, has been somewhat of a revelation in this Giro d'Italia. He started off well. He was the winner of the overall classification of the Tour of Trentino just before, and this is the man that you were talking about just a few moments ago, Domenico Pozzovivo, and certainly he too has been a great revelation, 9th in the overall classification, and it's been an incredible Giro by the whole of his team, Team Navigari.
It certainly has. I mean, there's 3 riders not finishing on that team, but the other 7 have really distinguished themselves. They are clear leaders, not only in the King of the Mountains, but also in the team race as well. So, as Pozzovivo gets off and running on his time trial, there's no change down at the finishing line. It is still Marco Panotti, the overall leader, and 2 Americans occupying the top 6 places for Team Slipstream Chipotle.
Pain is my enemy. This bike, my ally. Together, our endurance is unmatched. Our performance, unstoppable. Any distance, any road. I am Tom Bonen. I am specialized.
Going somewhere?
What are you in for? Wi-Fi?
Break free from Wi-Fi with broadband access from Verizon Wireless. Click to connect and work in more spots than just hotspots on America's most reliable wireless broadband network. Now get a free broadband access modem. Monthly plan starting at $39.99. It's reliability to go. Verizon Wireless.
A lot of our stories start at crime scenes. A victim, police, the investigation, lives changed forever. And there's a lot of questions. What happened? Who? Why? We don't solve the crime, but we do give a voice to the victims. And not just the headliners, because every voice deserves to be heard. You want answers? I want justice.
Nancy Grace, Headline News Prime, every night 8 and 10 Eastern.
Every parent knows the feeling. You look away, and your child is gone. Imagine if he or she were actually abducted. Sign up at wirelessamberalerts.org to get free Amber Alert text messages on your cell phone. If you did help an abducted child get home, just imagine what his parents would be feeling. Wireless Amber Alerts. A child is calling for help.
And to play into your potential. I don't care what the scoreboard says. In my book, we're going to be winners.
Hoosiers, Monday at 9 on Versus.
And welcome back to the Giro d'Italia in Milan. A two-arm salute here by the former two-time world champion, Paolo Bettini. But Paul, he's still looking for his first win of the season, and we didn't expect it today.
Well, I tell you what, this is a great bike ride. He's been aggressive throughout this Giro d'Italia, and you cannot say that he's not been out, Phil, and looked for the breakaways.
Well, the thing about he's so popular. He got a huge cheer when he went down the start ramp, and he's got a huge cheer when he has finished today. And he'll be off to try and defend his Olympic medal in Beijing in the height of the summer. Here is Jürgen van den Broek, the quiet man of the cycling here in Italy, but really a sensation. The silenced lotto rider. He is in second position in Best Young Rider, and he goes out of the start house now, Paul, trying to fight and confirm a top 8 finish.
Important for him, and I think also important for Cadel Evans, who will be looking to build a solid team around him when he goes to try and win the Tour de France in the month of July. And he well could count on this man, Jürgen van den Broek, when we go up to the big high spot to the mountains. However, there's a little bit of concern about the form of Cadel Evans just recently. In fact, he's just cancelled a training camp, Phil, on the way up to the Alps because of a bad knee. And this now is the arrival of Levi Leipheimer. Not great at the early time checks, and I think for Levi, a little bit of an average ride in the individual time trial for him. Not going to win the race overall, not going to try and improve his place in the overall classification. I think for him, just a question of getting this bike race over and done with.
Yes, indeed, but he came from, his form wasn't good when he came here. It's got better as he's gone along. It would have been great in July for the Tour de France. He crosses the line 17th, 33 minutes and 41, less than a minute off the best time, which is still Marco Pinotti, the Italian time trial champion. But for Levi Leipheimer, with little preparation, he has finished this Giro d'Italia and probably in 19th place overall.
A great ride by him. The wife and family there of Paolo Bettini coming in to see Daddy World Champion, a man who won the World Championships twice in a row. And of course, he really is, Phil, the specialist of the one-day races, because not only has he won the World Championship twice, but as you said a little bit earlier on, he'll be looking to try and defend his gold medal in the Olympic Games and maybe retire after that. Or maybe not.
Well, maybe not. There's a quick look at the overall situation. Pinotti's still there at a very good time. Tony Martin's only slipped into second. He led for a long time for High Road. And High Road got 3 riders there in the top 4, with Brad Wiggins just down into 4th place. Here we go out on the road again, and Nibali at 10.9 kilometres, and not a bad time, but it's not going to make the top 20.
Well, the important thing about this time trial is dosing your effort over the whole of the 28.5-kilometer stretch. A lot of riders gone out very quickly and faded down towards the end. In fact, at the first 2 time checks, Ignatiev from Team Tinkoff had the fastest time, but he wasn't the fastest time at the finish line. That honor goes to Marco Pinotti at the moment. A solid ride here by Nibali, but I think once again you can see that a lot of riders, Phil, are showing what has turned out to be a very difficult final week to this race. Danilo De Luca is the next man to line up. For him, he's had a really up and down Giro. He's been aggressive, he's had some great performances, but I think a little bit upset by the way he performed yesterday. He paid for the long breakaway on the day before.
Yes, he did, but he's made a great race of this. He's been a worthy rider in defence of his Giro crown, and I think the way the Italians have raced here to try and beat, there's a little look there at Pinotti finishing as
Tony
we
Martin.
complete the top 3. Tony Martin in second place. This is the situation at the moment, and we'll just wait to see who comes up. It should be Glinsky in third place. There they are. Well, all of these pictures coming at us live, remember, and we're not in charge of who operates the cameras. Sometimes there are wrong captions go on the screen as well. 1 or 2 of you have written in saying we're giving different time checks to what you see. Well, that's because we think our information is better. We hope we're right.
Well, I hope we're right. So we try to be the best and try to be there on top of all of the stories as they come out. But I'll tell you definitely, this is Danilo De Luca, and he starts the day in 7th place in the overall classification.
So De Luca underway, and as I say, I think he's ridden a great Giro and he's really made a big race of it. And I thought Alberto Conto very gracious a couple of days ago when he thanked the Italians, Rico and De Luca, for attacking him and making it so exciting for the Italian Tifosi. We'll take another break and rejoin us soon.
Start your engine.
This is you after an energy drink. Unfortunately, so is this. Why do energy drinks make you crash? 1 minute you're wired up, the next you feel worse than before. The answer is large amounts of sugar and caffeine. That's why you should try a new liquid energy shot called 5-Hour Energy. With 5-Hour Energy, you can leave grogginess behind and sail through your day without feeling jittery, tense, or you know. That's because 5-Hour Energy contains a powerful blend of B vitamins for energy and amino acids for focus, alertness, and better mood. There's 0 sugar, about as much caffeine as a cup of coffee, and only 4 calories. The 2-ounce shot takes just seconds to drink, and in minutes you're feeling bright, awake, and productive. And that feeling lasts for hours. So if your energy drink makes you crash, switch to 5-Hour Energy. Hours of energy now, no crash later. Find out if 5-Hour Energy is right for you. It's available at these fine stores. Or for more information, go to 5hourenergy.com.
Now here's a fresh idea. Introducing Papa John's new whole wheat crust. Fresh, hand-tossed dough made with 100% whole grains. A new taste choice. Try a large 3-topping pizza on our new fresh whole wheat crust or on our fresh, never frozen original crust. 2 great choices, just $11.99 each. Call or click papajohns.com. 2 fresh choices, 1 great price.
Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
It's life or death to me. I'm the #1 fighter in the world, and I'm ready to prove it.
I've been there, done that, and I'm on my way back to win a belt. There's no way this fight's going 5 rounds.
Don't blink.
Welcome back here, looking at the former champion of this race last year, Danilo De Luca. and he's settling into a time trial. He was a very good time trial right out at the start of this year. Denny Menchov now gets underway, and I think, although he's been nibbling amongst the leaderboard, he's never quite finished it off this year, Paul. But watch him in the Tour de France.
Watch out for this man in the Tour de France. He was a great ally in the early part of the race last year too, Michael Rasmussen. I have to say, I think this year the reason he's used the Tour of Italy is as preparation for the upcoming Tour de France. And I have to say, don't discount him from a podium position here in the individual time trial. He starts the day in 6th place here, Phil, but he's looking for 47 seconds over Marzio Brusegin. That is absolutely feasible if he puts in a sterling ride.
Yes, indeed. Two-time winner of the Vuelta España. We're looking at Gilberto Simoni here, and I'll get some facts right for you this time. 7 podiums he's had, Gilberto Simoni, which includes 2 wins. He's been second once and 4 times finished third in the Giro, and I really thought he was going to finish third again this year, but he cracked in the Alps just before the weekend started.
Well, on a couple of occasions, Alberto Contador has said the man that he felt was the most dangerous in the Giro d'Italia was this man we're looking at here, Gilberto Simoni, because Simoni is an unpredictable rider. When he's got great form, he doesn't worry about the handbook at all. He just goes straight out on the attack, and he did this on a number of occasions, but a couple of times he lost out big time.
Well, he's going to try and do a good time trial, but I remember when he won his Tour his Giro rather, a while ago now, on the last time trial there, he lost many minutes, but fortunately had many minutes in hand. He's not a great time trialist, but he did excel in the earlier time trials this year, and I thought that would have been enough. But Paul was a little bit too far, those legs, which are almost 37 years of age, and couldn't bring him to Milan just quite quick enough. I don't really expect a great ride from him now. He's settling down in the overall in 10th place, and a reasonable time trial should mean he stays there, because behind him in the overall, Bagliani, is some 12 minutes gap, so I don't think he'll bridge that gap today.
I don't think so. Over on the right-hand side there, you can see the man who won this race last year, Danilo De Luca. He also, I think, Phil, will be locked in a little bit of a private battle. He started the day in 7th place, but he's only got himself an 8-second advantage over Jürgen van den Broek, so it's important for Danilo De Luca to put himself into a good time trialing performance position today if he wants to stay there. After that, it's a big leap up towards 6th place Denny Menchov, and he's looking there for about 1.5 minutes. I don't think that's going to be the situation this afternoon. To me, the big battle is going to be between Contador and Rico for the overall win, and then a bit of a battle between Brusegin, Pellizotti and Denny Menchov for a 3rd place finish.
Still carrying the scars of his crashes up in the hills there, the hills he conquered. He crossed all of the Dolomites in 1st place. He's a clear win of the King of the Mountain. I can't remember one as won it by such a devastating margin. Manuel Sella about to take to the start, and his best ever finish in a Giro. He's had a 10th, 11th and a 12th, and now he's going to break into the top 6.
Yes, and you know, a lot of the tifosi here, Phil, in Italy have been whispering the name of Marco Pantani, because this man reminds them very much of the great climber from Italy of many years gone by. And today, this man is going to perform in what is probably his worst discipline in the sport of professional cycling. That's the individual time trial, but he needs to ride well, because he only starts the day with a 12-second advantage over Denny Menchov in the overall standings.
Yes, so he needs a good time. Here's the rival of Paolo Sabadelli, Il Falco, the big descender. 12th, 14th and slipping away, so a man that we thought might challenge or at least help De Luca to the win hasn't quite worked out this time around. But the baby-faced Sabadelli comes home here. He now goes behind Levi Leipheimer, who still has a chance of climbing 1 place in the overall as he comes up to the line.
Well, a great ride there by Salvadelli. You can see when he comes up to the line, he's going to just crack inside of the top 20 there, 33.51. He's lost himself 1 minute and 6 seconds.
Well, it's not a smile, that's a grimace. Even a flat time trial is hard. We'll take a break now, and when we come back, the big trio will be heading to the little house. Brusegin, Rico and Contador. See you in a moment.
What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song, and I'll try not to sing out of key. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. Yeah, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends, with a little help from my friends.
At Hampton, we love having you here.
Farmers Help Point. Sanity makes a comeback. Going over and over, stopping and starting, waking up to go. Lots of guys experience male urinary symptoms due to BPH, also known as an enlarged prostate. But for many guys, prescription Flomax reduces their urinary symptoms due to BPH in 1 week. Only your doctor can tell if you have BPH, not a more serious condition like prostate cancer. Avoid driving or hazardous tasks for 12 hours after your first dose or increase in dose, as a sudden drop in blood pressure may occur, rarely resulting in fainting. If considering cataract surgery, tell your eye surgeon you've taken Flomax. Common side effects are runny nose, dizziness, and decrease in semen. Ask your doctor if Flomax is right for you. For many men, Flomax can make a difference in 1 week.
Cyclism Sundays, it's on, and the legendary Alps await. Who will climb, and who will cave? As the 2008 cycling season winds its way towards the Tour de France, the Dauphiné Libéré begins next Sunday at 5. Brought to you by Hampton Hotels, only on Versus, the home of the Tour de France.
Have a banana. Eating well and playing go together like best friends.
You better believe it.
With the food pyramid, the bare necessities of living healthy are easy.
Bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
So eat right. Be active.
I'll move and sit.
And don't forget to have fun. That's the way to be the best.
You're lots of fun, Baloo.
At anything you do. You can go to mypyramid.gov to play some games and find out more.
When someone abducts a child, they're not about to advertise it. But we will. Sign up at wirelessamberAlerts.org to get free Amber Alert text messages on your cell phone. Help put a child abductor out of business for good. Wireless Amber Alerts. A child is calling for help.
The greatest cage fight in history as World Extreme Cage Fighting Champion and #1 featherweight in the world, Uriah Faber, defends his title against a UFC legend, Jens Little Evil Pullback. See it live on Versus tonight at 9 Eastern, only on Versus. Well, this man is about to break out of his particular cage, because this is Matteo Bruscigi, now third from the end. A podium in sight here in the Giro d'Italia for this great time trialist. Paul, he's been a pro since '97. He's won only 3 races, the Italian Championship and 2 time trials of the Giro d'Italia.
Well, you could say that he's definitely a specialist. They're counting down there 2-1, and he's now out on his road. He's in third place at the start of today, but he only has a 5-second advantage over Franco Pellizotti, only 35 seconds over Emmanuel Sella, and 47 seconds over Denny Menchoff. But I'm sure, Phil, in the back of his mind, he started the day with a dream, because he feels that with 2 minutes over Alberto Contador, if he can do something special, he could come up with a very surprise win.
Well, I agree. I don't think he's going to be looking over his shoulder at Pellizotti and Sella catching him. I think he's more concerned with trying to hunt down Rico. But to do a 1 minute 56-second beating of Rico is a big ask on this very short course. But he's going to have a go down. So we've gone forward 3 minutes now, because this is Franco Pellizotti. He's had a wonderful Giro himself. He led the race early on for 4 days. He won the time trial. He'd never done that before in his life, up the steepest climbs I think we've ever seen, and in the slowest average speed for 80 years in the Giro.
Yep, 19 kilometers an hour now. We're just looking at Larsen coming into the finishing straight, 194 there, champion of Sweden in the individual time trial. He's looking at a good, solid ride, but Phil, I think it's coming down to the end. The big men who are looking at winning the Giro d'Italia, looking at a podium position, who are going to be the only people to move Marco Pinotti off the top slot.
I think you're right. I think you're being very kind there, saying Larsen's ride was a good solid ride. He slips away here out of the top 30, but he's only a young cyclist, and he's got a long way to go with his career yet, and a very good time trialist. But remember, they're coming to the end of 2,200 plus miles of racing now, and these legs are bringing some tired men home as well. So Larsen comes up to the line, just about peaks into the top 40 for the moment at 39th. I think he'll be out of the top 40 by the time the back riders start up. Well, we're just about, I think it's about a minute away now from getting back to the start house to see Ricardo Rico in there. An angry man. He's sort of said a lot of things, I think, out of turn to the general press and the cameras, you know, about the Navigare team. Why was Contador not attacked by them? Why did they work with Contador? Heck, they're not on Ricardo Rico's team. Why shouldn't they work together?
Well, I think it's a little bit of youthful enthusiasm on his part there, feeling that maybe the Italian should have ganged up a little bit more on Alberto Contador, but unfortunately the sport is too international now for that kind of thing. And looking down here at Emanuel Sella, he starts the day in 5th overall, and he's going to have to ride an exceptional time trial, Phil, because just 12 seconds behind him is Denny Menchov.
Indeed, indeed. Here comes DeLuca at 10 kilometres, 78th. I can tell you, by the way, that Simone's gone through here in 128th position. So there'll be no podium for him today, even in the time trial. This is DeLuca coming through, and he too is slipping away and out at 10.9 kilometres, 96th position. Back to the start house. Here he is now. He says if he'd been on Team Astana, he would win the race. Well, he's not on Team Astana, but he still has a chance of winning the race. 4 seconds down after 2,200 miles. Ricardo, it's now everything or finish second or worse.
Well, it's 4 seconds, Phil, is not very much at all in the sport of professional cycling. And after, as you said before, 2,200 miles of racing, it's absolutely negligible. This man's best performance is in the mountains. It's on the stages where you go out on the attack, not in the individual time trial. I think he's going to have to do something very special, but we've seen special time trials happen, especially when you're looking at winning a Grand Tour.
Well, we're looking down now on Emanuel Sella, who is going towards the finish in 5th place overall, and I don't think he'll move up, but he'll want to hang on to that 5th place. It's a great finish for him after his previous tours, finishing in the top 12, and what a tour he has had this year. 2 stage wins. He went for 3 in a row and he finished second in that time trial. He didn't just quite have it up the hill, but I think people who tried to get out of the saddle in that time trial up to the Plan de Coronas were sticking and slipping in the unsurfaced road. Here we are. This looks like Pelazzotti now.
Well, coming around the corner, Team Liquigas have been a solid team as well, I have to say, in this year's Giro. There's 3 kilometres to go there as he goes through the little zigzag inside of Milano. Back a little bit further down the road to Denny Menchov, a solid rider, a man I think we'll see ride very well in the Tour de France later on this year. A big, powerful man who will be looking, hopefully, to lead the team when they go through to the Tour de France in July. Or will that honour fall onto the shoulders of Thomas Dekker?
Well, when he won the Vuelta a España last year, he led for 13 days, Denny Menchov, in the golden jersey, as it is in the Vuelta. And so he's riding those legs into some kind of form this last 3 weeks, that's for sure. Could well be a big challenge in the Alps as we get into the highlight of the month of July. Here's the first check to give us some guidance. He's just doing enough to hold the top 21 position there. Not even that, 23rd as he goes through. So his race is over. It's just a matter of getting to the finish now. Valjevec, he's also slipped away. Tim Goodsall there from New Zealand, riding his first Giro, in the top 55 finishes just now.
Well, Valjevec was very aggressive. He was always a member of the limited group of riders that were at the front of the race when we went into the big mountain passes. But again, not a great time trial ride by him. 68th place, 35.21, and a fairly slow average speed at 48 kilometres an hour.
Well, you say it's slow, Paul. I'd like to do 30 miles an hour these days, but there we are. Vincenzo Nibali will be the next man in there as we go back out on course here with Ricardo Rico wearing the white jersey. Now, the man that came here off the beach, expected to last a week of the Giro, he's now just 28 kilometres away from going back-to-back Grand Tour wins. He won the Tour de France. He can't ride the Tour this year. They don't want him. Alberto Contador now is 4 seconds and 28 kilometres away from victory.
I'm sure as he rolls down the ramp here, Phil, he's thinking back to 1992 and thinking back to a certain Miguel Indurain, who on the final day of the Giro d'Italia went into an individual time trial like this, came up with the win and came up with the overall victory as well. This man, I have to say, since July of last year, Phil, has improved tremendously in this race against the clock, and he realizes he only has 4 seconds ahead of Rico and the individuals in the overall standings, and for him, he will be getting a lot of time checks out on the road. I would suggest that they've got time checks coming through every 4 or 5 kilometers. He's probably got a number of teammates hidden in the crowd.
Well, you bet your life. Astana can't believe the way this tour has turned in their favor. Let's hope it doesn't all go wrong for them right now, but we'll wait and see on that one. We're looking at the rider here who also said he would have a good tour. Another star of the future in Ricardo Rico. 2 stage wins in the first 8 days. They came earlier than he expected. He has very much remained a big challenger and a great attacking rider. He's done his very best to win this race, and he may still do it today.
Well, he's only looking for 4 seconds. We go a little bit further back now down the road to see the finish line here of Vincenzo Nibali. Not a bad ride by him, but as you can see, Phil, a lot of these riders in the top part of the overall classification are not putting solid rides in here this afternoon. I think that's a reflection of just how difficult the final 2 days have been. You know, Friday and Saturday were massive mountain climbs, and maybe 1 or 2 of these riders haven't completely recovered.
Well, I think you're right. Mark Cavendish, you see there, sitting in 32nd place, 2 stage wins for the British rider. He wanted to finish his first Grand Tour here. He went out in the Tour de France last year because he said one day he'll come back to a Grand Tour and he will know now he can win the points competition. Nibali is in 34.44. He'll be very interested in the next time to come in, Baliani, because they're very close in the overall. We'll take a break.
We were friends from high school, and we all had the same tastes and listened to the same records. It started pretty naturally.
Our fans are what keep us doing what we do.
Being on the road, it actually affords us the opportunity to meet a lot of people.
We've got every different type of fan.
When you start a song and the audience starts applauding, that's a good moment. Every choice that we make musically, we're always thinking about them.
Skittles and Starburst are giving you the chance to hang with Maroon 5 and win other prizes. Enter the Summer Fever search party at Skittles.com or Starburst.com.
Travel now. No passport required for U.S. citizens. Puerto Rico. Explore beyond the shore.
Nobody ever plans to get lost in the Adirondacks or to run out of water in Death Valley. Nobody plans to snap his mainsail or break an ankle at 14,000 feet. But it happens. You need help and you're way out of cell phone range. Got a plan? Here's one. It's Spot. The world's first satellite messenger. Your personal connection to the outside world.
It's $149 that just might save your life.
Spot lets you ask for help from friends or just check in. It's GPS that you can send. In real trouble, there's the 911 button to alert the International Emergency Response Center of your exact location. Even let your friends track your progress using Google Maps. Look, nobody plans to break down in the middle of nowhere. I'm Les Stroud. Come share my adventure. Enter to win a trip to be on location with me at findmespot.com.
Spot, the world's first satellite messenger.
Hey, it's your life. Live to tell about it.
Welcome back as we look here at the pink leader's jersey of Alberto Contador, the sweeper today, the last man to go in the time trial. We're waiting for the big names to get to 10.9. We've got one here. This is the 4th place overall, Franco Pelazzotti. And Paul, he too is finding the going a little bit tougher. Strange. He conquers the mountain time trial and he flounders on the flat.
Well, I think that's an important point you raised there. The time trial in the mountains is completely different to the kind of time trial that these riders are facing today. Today is flat. Today is for the fast men. This is Fortunato Baliani. You know, this man has never been one of the great names of the sport of professional cycling, but here this year in the Giro d'Italia, he's a man who's always been in the breakaways, and he's finishing off with a difficult individual time trial, but for him it's been a great conquering, I have to say, of his team in the Giro d'Italia.
They've had a wonderful time trial and wonderful tour, 35.41. He might well have held on there to his 11th place overall ahead of Vincenzo Nibali. As we now got 10 riders left on course, this is Ricardo Rico. He is riding out of the start house 3 minutes ahead of Alberto Contador. They are separated by those 4 seconds overall. And people say that this rider doesn't suit to the flat time trial. And we know that Alberto Contador, look at the speed of him on the right of the picture here, The 10K check's going to be interesting.
It's going to be a very interesting time check. The fastest man so far to 10 kilometers is still Ignatieff from Team Tinkoff, but just giving a quick look there at the style of Alberto Contador, he was really ticking those legs over very fast and reminiscent of Lance Armstrong. This is the man who starts the day in 3rd place, and at 12 minutes and 20 seconds, Phil, he can only be a few hundred meters away from this first time check, and that will give us an indication of just how fast this man, who has only ever won time trials in his career, is doing.
Well, he's pulled himself right onto the edge of that saddle. Sorry about this little bit of picture breakup here. The cameras have been great to us all day till they picked up Bruce Eugene, but he's heading for now for that 10-6 kilometer check. Back down the road now, the top 3 riders racing towards the finish. You can throw a blanket over them. 2 minutes covers 3 riders here. This should be Simoni coming in now, the great Gilberto Simoni. 7 times a top 3 finisher, including 2 wins in the Giro d'Italia. Probably the last time he will compete in it. He's almost 37 years of age and a great climber and a great bike rider, but he's going to be absolutely nowhere when he gets the line in this time trial.
Well, that's not important, I don't think, to Gilberto Simoni, but he will continue in competition, because rumour is he's going to continue over towards the mountain bike side of the sport, getting into as an aerodynamic a position as he can here. Ricardo Rico is going through a tunnel of this crowd of noise here. What he's trying to do is do probably the best performance of his life. 111. Marzio Brusegin, Phil, he is looking for that first time check and the first indication as to whether or not he has recovered from the 2 big days in the mountains.
Well, so are we, and so too, I'm sure, is Marco Pinotti, watching the same television pictures as we are at the finishing line, because he is still the best time at the finish and has been for an awful long time. And that could be a terrific win for Team High Road if that's the way it's going to work out. I can tell you that Levi Leipheimer's time was good enough to lift him 1 place in the overall classification. He's set to end now in 18th place. Here we go, and I am very surprised, but look at this. He is fighting only 36th position. What has happened?
Well, I'm telling you, Phil, this is what's all about. This has been 2 very difficult days in the mountains, and you know what? These guys have not recovered from those 2 hard days. We've been over the mountains like the Gavia, the Monterolo, all of these mountain passes, and coming in for this violent effort on the final day, it really is going to be a little bit of a surprise, and maybe Ricardo Rico could create that surprise. This next time check, Phil, is going to be very interesting indeed.
Well, we need to check on Pellazzotti's time, because he was only 5 seconds difference there, and I think Brusegin may be losing a podium place right now to Franco Pellazzotti.
Well, Franco Pellazzotti went through that time check in a time of 14 minutes and 8 seconds, and the difference between Brusegin and Pellazzotti at the start of the day was only 5.
So still a chance of changes there as we now look at the podium still being reshuffled in the last kilometre. This has been an organiser's delight. I thought it was a terrific course from the start, so did the organiser, of course, but to finish with such a nail-biting finale as this, it's just like 1989 all over again. So we're looking on the left, the man in the white, the best young rider of the Tour. Is he going to be the best overall rider of the Tour? Brusegin here, still pile driving this huge gear here. He's still got a lot of work to do before he steps up in 3rd place. As we look at Alberto Contador, we'll take a quick break.
Of all the numbers you encounter along your journey to wherever you're going, you'll find there's one number you can always count on for a great night's rest. Super 8, now with free high-speed internet, free breakfast, and more. Super 8, see you along the way.
Going somewhere?
What are you in for? Wi-Fi?
Break free from Wi-Fi with broadband access from Verizon Wireless. Click to connect and work in more spots than just hotspots on America's most reliable wireless broadband network. Now get a free broadband access modem. Monthly plan starting at $39.99. It's reliability to go. Verizon Wireless.
I get in the truck and it won't start. I figure it's the starter. But when I get to AutoZone, they said let's test it first. Turns out it's just a solenoid switch. Those AutoZone guys saved me a lot of money. And I'll remember that.
12 summers of boat hauling. 6 minutes to soccer practice. 63 miles of commuting daily. For any extreme, from the road to the racetrack, nothing beats Mobil 1, the official motor oil of NASCAR. And the choice of over half of all NASCAR teams. So put some NASCAR in your car with the One. Mobil 1.
Desire is back. The Stanford St. Jude Championship, Thursday and Friday at 3:30 and 10 p.m. Eastern, only on the Golf Channel.
Every parent knows the feeling. You look away, and your child is gone. Imagine if he or she were actually abducted. Sign up at wirelessamberalerts.org to get free Amber Alert text messages on your cell phone. If you did help an abducted child get home, just imagine what his parents would be feeling. Wireless Amber Alerts. A child is calling for help.
Home is a place to unwind and to sort out your priorities, big and small. Home is here, Furniture Row Shopping Center, where the rest you earn can still be put to good use. These are the final days to take advantage of our first-time ever offer of 2.5 years with no payments and no interest. Take advantage of incredible deals as we wind down this outstanding savings event. Hurry into Furniture Row. Our 2.5 years with no payments and no interest savings offer ends Wednesday, June 11th.
Welcome back, and as you rejoin us, look at this too. Ricardo Rico also recording an awful time at 10.9 kilometers. He's not going to make or just the top 80 at that point, Paul.
14:35. He's losing a huge chunk of time there. Now this is Pozzovivo coming up to the finishing line. He too proving, Phil, that he's a much better climber than he is an individual time trialist. But all of the guys in the top 20 positions are really suffering today.
Well, listen to this. Franco Pelazzotti was 5 seconds behind at the start overall today. He's gone through the check in 14 minutes and 8 seconds. Busagin has gone through in 14:13. The difference 5 seconds. He has reversed. They are now locked equal at the 10 kilometers of the time trial in the overall classification. This is turning out to be an amazing race.
Well, just looking at the style of this man, Ricardo Rico, he's riding a very good time trial, Phil. He's keeping his cadence nice and high. And I think what's happening with Matteo Busagin is he's using too big a gear. Every time we get to see him, he's in a monster gear. Whereas these two riders starting last and second last, Rico here and Alberto Contador, are both using small gears. Although I have to say there's a much higher cadence for the man on the right-hand side wearing number 22 there. He's ticking over there a cadence of around about 100 revolutions a minute. And you know who used to ride time trials like that?
I do. Who?
Lance.
Oh, yes, Lance Armstrong.
Yeah.
I think he's been trained by Lance. The way he pedalled that mountain time trial, he used, I think it was a 27 rear cluster on the back there on that mountain time trial, which was at the most 24%. It was very, very steep. And on surface road, of course. Here's Busagin now. He's got to reverse the situation here. He must know by now with his radio piece, we saw it when he made the start, that he is now locked equal. No time separating them. Now, if they finish equal, it'll go back to the prologue time trial, which was a team time trial, so it must go back to the first time trial.
Well, it goes back to the mountain time trial as well, and the thousandth of a second, and that could be what will decide this. Although Busagin, let's not forget, is a seasoned campaigner, Phil. He's been around for a lot of years, and he knows that in the final part of this time trial, you can pull something back, you can recover, and he will certainly want to do that. Pelazzotti has not ever really been a great individual time trialist, but he's spurred on today by hyper motivation.
Well, as we go back into the start house again, this is the Van den Broek coming in. Jurgen van den Broek of Silence Lot had a great tour, but for Ricardo Rico, he would have been in the white jersey, a best young rider, so he's very, very happy. His ambition was to try and finish in the top 10 in the Giro d'Italia. And as you can see, his time not great here, but then nobody behind him or ahead of him is great either. So he should consolidate his 8th place overall in the Giro d'Italia. So
well,
we're looking, sorry, carry on, Paul.
I was just going to say this is a man I think we will see a lot more of in the month of July, but very shortly, and I would say in the next minute or so, we'll be waiting to see the arrival at the first time check of one Alberto Contador, and that will give us a serious indication as to whether or not the man who leads this race is in a good day.
Well, here he is, and the crowd lining the roads. You have no trouble finding the centre of Milan today. You just follow the crowds. Alberto Contador, the man in pink here. Remember that Rico went through in 40 minutes 35. Oh, dear me. He is absolutely wiping away the contenders in the Giro d'Italia. Alberto Contador is on a road of honour now. He goes through there in just over 30 minutes 40 seconds. Paul, he has taken over a minute out of Rico.
Well, that's the important thing to him. He's ahead of Rico, he's ahead of Brusagin. It's not the fastest time. That's still the honour of Mikhail Ignatiev with 13:19, 21 seconds faster than this man. But this man is the fastest over the whole of the Giro d'Italia. And the way he's riding, I feel he's not going to weaken down towards the end, and he could come through the next time check just a little bit better than that.
Well, that is a tremendous piece of riding. He's 55 seconds up at the moment and gaining all of the time. Alberto Contador now delivering the blow Astana hoped would happen, but only dreamt about it. And that dream is beginning to come true now.
Well, all those facts we dug out a little bit earlier on, Phil, about the closest to Giro d'Italia, we might as well throw those into the bin, because it's going to be a minute at the finish already.
I'm determined to work them in, but they're going to be no good now, Paul. Yes, Fiorenzo Magna in 1948 won the Giro by 11 seconds. He did it again in 1955 by 12, and so did Eddie Merckx. He also won once by only 12 seconds. Forget it now. It's going to be over a minute.
Well, it's going to be over a minute, because you could just see the style and the determination of that young man, Alberto Contador. The Italians here at the finish line, waving to the crowd, waiting to see whether or not we'll get an Italian win. At the moment, Phil, it's looking as if it's going to be the Spanish flag on the top step of the podium.
Well, we might get an Italian stage win, but certainly it looks like Spain is going to repeat what Miguel Indurain did in 1992. And remember that Miguel also won a time trial that day into Milan to be crowned the victor, and he also won the Tour de France the previous year. Boy, the statistics are falling out of place now. Here we are looking at the man in pink. It could be a winner's jersey in just about 20 minutes time. We'll see you in just a moment.
La mia bici e il mio corpo sono una sola cosa. La sua rigidità e la mia forza creano potenza. La sua precisione ed il mio coraggio creano agilità. Insieme siamo velocità. E la velocità è tutto. Io sono il campione del mondo, Paolo Bettini. I am specialized.
Trip to the circus? Yeah, Dad. Is it?
Farmer's Help Point. Sanity makes a comeback. Get a beautiful lawn that uses less water with Scott's Turf Builder Water Smart formula. It helps your lawn use water more efficiently, so you can save thousands of gallons a year. Scott's Turf Builder. Feed the lawn. Water smart.
Going over and over, stopping and starting, waking up to go. Lots of guys experience male urinary symptoms due to BPH, also known as an enlarged prostate. But for many guys, prescription Flomax reduces their urinary symptoms due to BPH in 1 week. Only your doctor can tell if you have BPH, not a more serious condition like prostate cancer. Avoid driving or hazardous tasks for 12 hours after your first dose or increase in dose, as a sudden drop in blood pressure may occur, rarely resulting in fainting. If considering cataract surgery, tell your eye surgeon you've taken Flomax. Common side effects are runny nose, dizziness, and decrease in semen. Ask your doctor if Flomax is right for you. For many men, Flomax can make a difference in 1 week.
The 2008 Giro d'Italia, Italy's toughest race. You can ride along all month long. Sign up for the Giro webcast package at versus.com/Giro and watch live every day for $29.99. The Giro d'Italia, online all month and on air every Sunday on Versus.
And welcome back as you see Danilo De Luca, an armed salute to the crowd here, 106th on the day today. Yes, he'd given up his assault on pink for sure.
I think this is confirmation of what I've said a couple of times, Phil. This has been a very difficult final week of racing and a very difficult final 3 days of racing, for which I have a feeling Danilo De Luca has not recovered. I think he will lose his 7th place in the overall classification to Jürgen van den Broeke. This is the man who preceded him in the overall standings, and a solid ride by Denny Menchov. Maybe not good enough to move himself up in the overall classification by too much, but proving once again that he's a solid contender when it comes to the Grand Tours.
Well, he started 9 minutes behind Gilberto Simoni, and now Menchov is coming up to the line here, so that is a very good ride for him. He's going to just about break in top 23, but Denny Menchov thinking, I think, of bigger things in the month of July. The form is on his way, and it's going to be a very high finish for him anyway. Should remain in the top 6 overall. Just under 50 kilometers an hour there, 31.5 miles an hour. There's Menchov. Big effort for Rabobank. He'll be the big hope in the Tour de France this year.
Well, while we're looking here at Denny Menchov, the time at 19 kilometers for Franco Pellizotti is just squeaking through, and that's a time of 24:04. And we're going to see whether the big battle for 3rd place in the Giro d'Italia will go to Pellizotti or to Brussegin. I have to say, every time I see Brussegin, Phil, he does not look comfortable. He's using a massive gear. This young man at 10 kilometers to go now knows he's got around about 12 or 13 minutes of agony left in his Giro this year. He's going to run out the overall winner of the Best Young Rider competition and probably hold on to 2nd place in the overall standings. But my gut feeling now is telling me that the style that we're looking at here of Alberto Contador could be translated into the end of the day for a victory not only in the Giro but also on the stage.
Well, he should hold on, because Brussegin 22 seconds behind him, up in him rather, in the race at the moment, but he's got to make 1:56 while Pellizotti's got to make 2 minutes. So that's a bit of a big ask, although Pellizotti is moving ahead of him just now. Well, we're looking here at Rico on the left. He's gone, and this man now knows he's just got to keep tapping out this rhythm. He is a very good flat time trialist, make no mistake. He saved a high finish and eventually his win in the Tour de France because of the last time trial, when we thought Cadel Evans would fight back. Alberto Contador now. Paul, we sat in the room with him in the Tour of Switzerland a year ago. We met him for the first time. We loved him. He's such an impressionable young man, so modest. And now here we are, less than a year on. He's won 2 Grand Tours.
Well, what amazes me was what was said after that interview with Alberto Contador by Johan Brunel. He said, I have never in my life seen somebody who can accelerate on a mountain like Alberto Contador does. We saw him then just a little bit later that year come out and accelerate on the mountains again and again and again, proving how great he was as a mountain climber. But to me, it's his improvement in the individual time trial which has been more important. You know, he's won 2 races overall this year, the Tour of Castilla y León and the Tour of the Basque Country as well, and both of those time trials, both of those victories came as a result of great performances in the individual time trial.
Well, I know it's everybody's hope, and not just the viewers, but also the journalists and many of the officials. They want the Tour de France to change their minds and take Team Astana. They can't announce the fact that they've got the 20 top teams when they haven't, because they haven't got Astana. But I wonder now, because they've had to get up and ready for this time, whether for this race rather, whether even if invited, they would accept now.
Well, I'm not sure. You know, to come in and ride the way they've done in the Giro d'Italia is a very difficult thing to do. They've ridden superbly. But just to go back to the battlefield between Franco Pellizotti and Marzio Brussegin at the 19-kilometer time check, 24:04 for Pellizotti, 24:09 for Brussegin. That's still 5 seconds.
That is absolutely unbelievable. So they've ridden the second third of this race at exactly the same speed. It's all down to the sprint. And this is now Manuel Sella, who's sprinting home. They're decked out in green. He's worn green since day 3. He conquered the lead on day 2, the first mountains of this year's Giro. And he doesn't really worry too much about his final time. He does want to try to better and stay ahead of Menchov. but I'm not so sure he's going to do that now as he races up towards the line. But still, a top 6 finish for him.
Well, a top 6 finish for him. He started the day with a 12-second buffer over Denny Menchoff. He's gone outside of that. He'll drop down into 6th place. He won't worry too much about that, Phil. 3-stage victories and the King of the Mountains. That's a lot better, I think. Thank you very much.
Yes, and 6th place overall. Absolutely formidable. But let me remind you, lest we forget, that Christian van der Velde and Danny Pace are still top 6 in the overall situation here at the moment. So we'll wait and see who can come in. But the big boys are now going to start rolling in with some big times, but maybe not as big as Danny and Christian.
Maybe not quite that big. It's the time difference between the big leaders, though, that's going to sort out this race. There's a confirmation very rapidly, I have to say, from our producers on the finish line. I'm not sure if you read that. I think it said still Marco Pinotti at the top with the same lead of 7 seconds.
That has been a thing of the caption generator in Italy, who works for Rai Television. He puts it up there, but he takes it off so fast. I don't think he intends anybody to actually read what it says.
No, actually, what he did, Phil, I think last year he actually did a speed reading course and he expects that the rest of us took it as well.
Yes, amazingly quick. Anyway, we're looking at Pelazzotti. He's not far away from the finish now, and his time is going to set the trend for the 3 behind him, and then we will know the final 4 in this year's Giro d'Italia. What a tremendous time trial. It looks on the face of it that Alberto Contador has shot out of that start house like a scalded cat and is now eating up the road ahead of him. There he is on the left of our picture, Rico, 1:26. The computers are saying he is now ahead of Rico.
Well, that's a massive difference between those two in the overall classification. Alberto Contador could probably cruise to the finish line now, Phil, and just win himself the overall classification of the Giro d'Italia. But you know what I think he wants to do? I think he wants to win the final time trial as well, a la Lance Armstrong many years ago. Armstrong always felt that if you win the Grand Tour, you should win the final time trial to prove to everybody that you were the strongest man. So this now is Franco Pelazzotti. He's looking at a 3rd place finish. He started the day 5 seconds behind Marzio Brusegin. This is going to be a very tough count.
It's going to be a tremendous finish, and it's going to set the marker now as he comes up. See, in its own context, not a great ride, but it's time that counts amongst the leaderboard. This is the one that sets the mark. Pelazzotti, 34.15 as he crosses the line. Now, we've got to see Brusegin come in less than 5 seconds to hold his podium place. We've got just about 3 minutes, so that'll be our cue to take a quick break and rejoin us for the arrival of Marzio Brusegin.
What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song, and I'll try not to sing out of key. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. Yeah, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends, with a little help from my friends.
At Hampton, we love having you here.
Tires. Wouldn't it be nice if everything in life came with a worry-free guarantee? Well, at Rent-A-Center, everything does. With our worry-free guarantee, we'll match any competitor's price. No credit hassles, delivery, setup, and service included. Love it or your money back. Rent-A-Center, we make it easy to make it your own.
Cyclism Sundays, it's on. From every leg-burning sprint to every exulting finish, Cyclism Sundays, presented by Hampton Hotels, begins next Sunday at 5.
Hurry in now for Toyota's banner sales event. Great deals, huge selection. See your Toyota dealer today.
The more you know, green is universal.
See? It's that easy. Save the planet and save money, too. Turn the lights off when you leave the room.
The more you know, green is universal. For more tips, go to greenisuniversal.com.
A lot of our stories start at crime scenes. What happened, who, why? We don't solve the crime, but we do give a voice to the victims. And not just the headliners, because every voice deserves to be heard. You want answers? I want justice.
Nancy Grace, Headline News Prime, every night 8 and 10 Eastern.
If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, I don't care what the scoreboard says, in my book, we're going to be winners.
Hoosiers, Monday at 9 on Versus.
Cyclism Sunday's coverage of Giro d'Italia on Versus is presented by Hampton Hotels. At Hampton, we love having you here. And by Hankook Tires. Team the road.
Welcome back, and bouncing off the barriers, the arrival of Marzio Brusagin here. You remember the time of Pelazzotti, 34 minutes and 15 seconds. He's got to get inside 34 minutes 20, and I think he's got time. It's going to be touch and go, Paul.
Well, you know, you have to be a specialist at the individual time trial. It will be touch and go. He's still got the sweeping left-hand bend into the finishing straight, but I have a feeling here this afternoon, Phil, he may well just have done it. He saved his podium position here this afternoon. 34:20 is the time he needs to get in. He knows that. He's out of the saddle and sprinting for it.
Well, they were locked 5 seconds apart, and then they equal the time overall. And I think that's his father there cheering on Brusagin here. 34:20. He's going to have to go for it. A tremendous sprint to the line. What an end to the Giro, but he's done it, and he deserves it. He hits the line, and there's Pelazzotti. Pelazzotti smiles wryly and realizes he won't be stepping on the podium by just 2 seconds.
Well, he was looking at the clock there. He knew what had to be done, but that was a great battle. I had a feeling that Pelazzotti may well have just pulled it out of the bag, but it wasn't going to be. Brusagin deserves his third place in the overall classification, and Riccardo Rico, I'm sure here, Phil, is going to hold on to his second place. He deserves that too, but he's still got to hang on to that pain for another 4 or 5 minutes.
He certainly has. Otherwise, Brusagin will snatch second place, but I don't think that's possible, really. 1:56 was the gap at the start of the morning overall. I think that's a little bit too much. Brusagin has certainly pulled out something special over those last few kilometres, though. Hats off to Pelazzotti, a wry smile, a shake of the head, and I'm sure he's disappointed. A third-place finish is such a big thing to an Italian in the Giro. This is Contador now,
making his way there through that crowd there. They will be shouting this man on. He's been very much adopted here, I have to say, by the Italian tifosi. They're shouting his name at the side of the road, and he, for one, Phil, has said he finds that very strange to believe they've adopted him quite so much.
Well, he's such a personable character, and for the Italians to shout on anybody who isn't Italian is pretty special in the Tour of Italy. They don't like riders doing well who aren't Italian national. This is such a big race for the home crowd. Remember, no foreign riders won this since Pavel Tonkov, and really he was an adopted Italian because he lived in Italy, and he won it back in '96. Now, anything better than 36 minutes and 14 seconds will be good enough for Rico to keep his second place overall. He's no longer racing for that 4-second margin, and he's got plenty of time to get to the finish as we start the countdown.
Well, he should be fine at the second time check at 19 kilometres. He was inside of losing less than a minute on the men behind him, Brusagin and Pelazzotti. So now he's just pretty much got to cruise to the finish line. He's put in a sterling performance over these 3 weeks. He's been a great battler. He tried to get rid of Alberto Contador on a number of occasions, but Contador knew really in the last couple of days, Phil, he only really had to watch one man, and that's this man who's going to win the best young rider competition.
Well, he should be inside. His time's going to be around 35:45 as he races up towards the line here, so it'll be about half a minute inside. But it was a good job he'd built up that 2-minute advantage over Brusagin, because Brusagin would have taken him in this time trial.
He certainly would have done, and that would have bumped him up into second place in the overall classification. But now for Riccardo Rico, the time is ticking by. He's got to get himself inside of 35 minutes, I would say, Phil, to feel nice and safe. He swings around that corner. Don't deck it at this point, because a little crash here could lose you 30 or 40 seconds and your place on the podium.
Well, he started out with an early stage victory. He said it came soon, but he was happy. Then he won again. The first 8 days of the Tour were magical for him. He has then desperately tried to attack Contador. He's blamed other teams helping Contador, which I don't think are true. Little bit of immaturity, because this man is still a very young rider. And now he's coming home in second place in the Giro d'Italia. That is absolutely superb for Rico. Just 24 3/4 years of age. He's got to beat 36:14. He's well inside of that, even though overall in the big picture he's a long way down the finishing list today. But this is the best young rider in the Giro, one of the best attacking riders in this year's Giro. And now he hits the line plenty in hand. He will finish second overall.
Second overall by just inside of the 1 minute mark, and this must have been a very difficult individual time trial for this young man, but he forced himself. He found the power that being in a high place in the overall classification brings to you on an individual time trial like this. Now there's only one man left and still dancing on the pedals. The man who dominated the Giro d'Italia in the big mountains, and he still looks to me, Phil, as if he's got a certain amount of energy in those legs of his. He's been down at all of the time checks, but maybe save something special for the final few kilometers, because I have to say Alberto Contador is still looking very fast.
Well, the time will tell, of course. We are waiting to see if he can match the time of Marco Pinotti of Team High Road. That isn't going to happen now, because Pinotti can begin to prepare to enter the podium as the winner of the time trial. Team High Road, unbelievable. What a day for them. They also won in Canada, by the way. They won the Women's World Cup race there with Judith Arndt, and she's got a clear lead for the women on Team High Road as well. And now we are watching Contador, this Spanish rider, the first foreigner to win the Giro d'Italia since his countryman Miguel Indurain. He knew it all the way. He knew time no longer counted, Paul. He gave us a two-arm salute.
He gave us a two-arm salute, and his traditional little salute as well, shooting off into the crowd as Alberto Contador finishes today in only 11th place on the stage. But it's not really about the position on the stage. Phil, watch this victory salute once again. A brilliant ride by this young man. Bang, and that's the Giro d'Italia for him in the bag, and for Johan Brunel and for Team Astana as well.
Well, his 4-second margin has gone out to nearly 2 minutes. Marco Pantani has had to sit here for a couple of hours waiting. Did I say Pantani? Dear me. The reason I'm saying Pantani, Paul, is because Pantani was the last rider to do the double in 1998, the Tour of Italy and the Tour de France. And the fact that the organisers have not accepted Contador's Astana team, they're now denying him the chance to repeat that.
Well, maybe they might sit back and have a think about that, because, you know, there still is the ability to put an extra team into the Tour de France. As we know, Marco Pinotti is the winner, Phil, at the end of the day. But I have to say, Team Astana have been phenomenal throughout this race, bearing in mind they didn't really have time to prepare.
Here's confirmation of the stage result. Marco Pinotti winning the stage, his first ever victory in the Tour of Italy. Tony Martin, his teammate on Team High Road, second. Michael Ignatieff, third. Bradley Wiggins completing 3 Team High Road riders in the top 4. Christian van der Velde, despite the sadness of the day with his grandfather passing away, finished in 5th place. Further down, Danny Pate got a magnificent 6th. Bernardi, the pointsman, in 7th. Top 10 completed by Jens Voigt. Contador, by the way, he was 11th. And time now for our Captain Morgan ride of the day. Well, frankly, there were many rides of the day in this particular time trial. But what about Team High Road? They provided the winner in Marco Pinotti, and then second place in Tony Martin. He was the leader for a long time until Pinotti finished. And finally, Bradley Wiggins, the British rider on Team High Road, giving them 3 rides in the top 4. That's our Captain Morgan rides of the day. Well, there he is, Marco Pinotti. He led the Giro for 4 days last year, but now he's back as the first ever time for him as a stage winner. And what a great stage to win in Milan.
Well, it certainly was, and you can see that, I think, Phil, the joy on his face there. A brilliant time trial. He had to wait for a long time before he actually got the result confirmed, though.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bob Staples is going to be beside himself now, the owner of Team High Road, because he just can't stop winning with his riders, male and female. And today they had 3 riders in the first 4 finishes. But Marco Pinotti is the man who wins the time trial. So the American-sponsored team will now look forward to the upcoming Tour de France. So a look at the final classification of the Giro d'Italia. Alberto Contador opening up the gaps to 1:57 over Riccardo Rico and 2:54 over Matteo Brusagin. Pelazzotti finishes 4th. The top 5 completed by Denny Menchov. Looking further down, Cello, the King of the Mountains, finishes in 6th place. Defending champion De Luca is 8th. Top 10 completed by Gilberto Simoni. Levi Leipheimer climbed 1 place today to finish 18th. And Christian van der Velde, he sits in 52nd place. David Miller 94th, Jason McCartney 95th, and Danny Pate 137th. Well, there he is. He salutes the crowd. He's pulled on his Astana jersey. Johan Brunel will be delighted. He's trained yet another winner of a Grand Tour, Paul.
Well, he certainly has. After spending a long time with Lance Armstrong, he thought that was the end of what was a great era. I think now he's started a new era, and this, I think, Phil, is going to be the Contador era, because this young man now has 2 Grand Tour victories to his credit.
Daniele Bonatti, who wins the points competition here, plus 3 stages on the road as well. He also won the points competition in the Tour of Spain a year ago. I wonder if he'll get the hat-trick by winning it in the Tour de France in July. Ciclamino is the colour, 4 points here. He saluted Mark Cavendish, who won a couple of stages and could have won a third, but gave it to his teammate Andre Greipel. He said that Mark was the fastest rider in the world over the last 200 metres, but there's no doubt who the clever one was, Daniele Bonatti. Saluting the crowd with a big smile here, Manuel Sella. He wins the green jersey. He allowed nobody else to wear it at all. He took it on the end of stage 2 at Agrigento in Sicily, and he defended it. Well, defend's not quite the real word, is it, Paul? He had nobody near him.
Well, I would think dominate is really the word you were looking for in that competition, because he was head and shoulders above everybody else in the race for the King of the Mountains title here in the Giro d'Italia, and for that he takes away the green jersey.
And there they are, the top 3. What a great time trial again from Bruce Eugene to hold on to that margin. And on the right-hand side, the first time we've seen him in his team colours for quite a long time, is the best young rider of this race, Riccardo Rico. The time gaps now, though, Paul, have opened out. What was all the commotion about?
Well, at the start of the day, it was just 4 seconds, but this man really stamped his authority on that final individual time trial. And there it is, the trophy of the Giro d'Italia for 2008, and it's going back to Spain.
Well, that's the end of our programme here in Milan, but next week Paul Sherwen and I will be in Avignon for the prologue time trial of the Dauphiné Libre race, where the Tour de France hopefuls will begin their preparation for the big one in July. So be there with us on Cyclism Sundays. All of our information and schedules available on versus.com. Today, it's congratulations to a Spanish rider for a change in the Giro d'Italia. So well done, Alberto Contador. For Paul Sherwen, I'm Phil Liggett. We'll see you next week from France. Goodbye for now.